Well, I just want to say thank you two for coming on. This is just like this is just really special for me because I've been following this map and the development process of it for quite a while. And to me, this has to be one of the most anticipated maps to release in recent memory. And I just want to commend you guys on your work on it.
Yeah, we appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
It sure was a challenge to remake, that's for sure. Definitely the hardest map I've ever made or remade. Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, the map is sitting at about 55,000 concurrent subscribers, and it's been out for like only a few days, about a week now.
6 days, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy numbers for the mod tool scene.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
I just wanted to kind of get into how you both kind of started on the tools. What brought you into making content for Custom Zombies?
Well, I started actually doing mapping where like I downloaded the tools in, I think like March of 2017. No, I think it was sooner than that. I think it was like the very beginning of 2017. And I started out just trying to remake Noct. Yeah, big surprise there. That's what a lot of people try to do, which is honestly, it's not a bad thing to do if you're starting out making maps because Noct is like really small. So, and you should always start small if oh yeah, you're getting into mapping. That is my biggest piece of advice there for that. But yeah, I started to remake Noct, never finished it. Then I moved on to another project. I think I was trying to make a little prison cell block area. I can't remember what I used reference for it, but I think it was that prison from The Walking Dead. I think from season 3. Yeah. Never finished that. What else was I think eventually I decided I wanted to actually finish a map, and I made this map called Whiskey, and that was the first map I ever released on the tools or on the workshop, which is it was just that one Modern Warfare 2 campaign mission where you spawn in the bunker and you go out to like Washington DC and whatnot, and it's like World War III happening.
Yeah, right before the White House mission.
Yeah, I originally I wanted to make like the whole mission, but I was very new and I was like, wow, I don't think I can do that. So I just made the bunker, and yeah, that was pretty much how I got into it. And I watched a lot of tutorials. Jaybird was the guy I was watching the most, I think. I watched a few Madgas tutorials, I think.
So I started a little after Xela. It was like I pulled up my first workshop map for this. So I guess I started in like May of 2019. It was like my junior year of high school, and I just saw some like videos online. I think it was like the Jaybird tutorials, maybe the Madgas ones of like how to make custom zombies maps, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I like downloaded the tools and I threw together a map in like a week. And it was just a tower map. Like I wasn't like, I'm obviously like I'm the programmer, scripter, or whatever. I'm like Xela's environment artist and all that. So it didn't really look that pretty. But I mean, I still thought it was super cool to like throw a map together and like how easy it was, just even for something so simple. And that pushed me to, it was at the end of my junior year, so that pushed me to take a computer science class my senior year, and then go on to study programming in college. And that's what got me into like coding. And eventually, like that first map, I just threw stuff from like community posts. Like I threw in the Madgas perks, buildable shields, like stuff that like community packs.
Gotta love those community packs.
Yeah, it's really helpful. But eventually I would start, working with other people. I think I don't know who the first person I like teamed up with. I think either Madgas or Xela, probably. But eventually I just started working with other people, they were making the maps and I just scripted features for it. I don't remember when they came out, but obviously Overload I worked on with Madgas, and at some point I did a little bit. I first started to work with Xela on, what's that map called? My brain's like blanking right now. Gulag. Yeah, on Gulag. I did something. I did Brutus. I worked on Brutus. And then I worked with Boris for a while. And then yeah, that's pretty much my journey, just being the partner to the actual mappers.
Did you guys have any background in game design before coming into the scene, or was it just kind of like learning as you went?
In terms of like 3D, no, I had no experience with 3D before mod tools. I did like to edit videos a lot before. I had like experience using like Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, I think was one of the softwares I used. But before that, no, I had no game design experience whatsoever before.
And same here. Like I said, like mod tools is what got me into coding. So like coding in like GSC for mod tools is the first like programming language that I learned. I didn't know anything about it or even consider it beforehand. So yeah, like same answer as Zella, pretty much. No previous experience.
Right. Yeah, I find that's kind of like interesting with a lot of people who come into the scene where it's just kind of like, yeah, I didn't really know anything moving into it, and then from that they gain experience and then they learn more and more, and that's what kind of helps them on their mod tools journey.
Yeah, I honestly like. I wish I started in World at War. That way, I would know more now. Like, I think Jaber was a World at War mapper, and Zeroy, I think, he did World at War, and Ardavi. Those guys are all from World at War, and they know a lot.
Oh yeah, a bunch of the legends, the old guard
Yeah.
from World at War.
Yeah, the OGs. Yeah.
So in coming into how you guys met, it was more towards like a Gulag Zombies for the Brutus. Was there anything else that kind of like brought you two together?
Oh well, we knew each other before.
Yeah, I mean,
that
like,
was just
yeah,
like the first
yeah.
time we made a map together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that we worked on a map
I've
together.
I've known Dobby since like 2019, I think.
Yeah, probably like around when I first joined the mod tools community. I joined the usual VCs with various modders, and Zella was among them. And so like I talked to him here and there, and then of course working on Gulag, I talked to him more, and that kind of got us to meet. And then I want to say, yeah, Die Rise is like the first map that we are full on working fully together on, not just doing like it's not like Gulag where I just did a little bit.
How did that decision come about where it was like, okay, we are going to be like, you and me are going to be working on the Die Rise map? I don't want to bring up too much of the Mr. T Lexify stuff, but did that have like influence on it?
No, I always had Dobby in mind when Die Rise was starting. I was like, well, at first I was like, damn, who the fuck am I gonna have script this map? Because I can't fucking do it. And Dobby was the first one that came to mind, and because I know the guy well, he's pretty damn good at what he does. Like, I feel like he'd be perfect for this. Pretty much, I was just like in our Discord, I was like, hey man, you're scripting Die Rise.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's like, okay, man, cool.
That's pretty much how it went.
That's
Yeah.
pretty much how it went. Like,
No, I love that.
not really too deep.
Were there any like concerns about releasing a map that had really negative feedback beforehand, or were you optimistic, thinking like, we're gonna make this better, we're gonna make this amazing?
Yeah, that was ultimately the goal with it, because like me myself, I fucking cannot stand Die Rise. Like, it's probably the map I hate the most from Black Ops 2, or just the map period in zombies. Like, I hate it. It's horrible. But remaking it, it was kind of fun. I mean, it was really hard to do because like there's literally an entire building that's just upside down and tilted on its axis.
Mm-hmm.
And it's completely destroyed. Not to mention it's just straight verticality, which is something I had no experience in doing. So it was definitely a learning experience making this map for sure. Like, absolutely. But to answer your question more, yeah, we wanted to make this map a lot better than how it was perceived previously, which a lot of people didn't like it. So I mean, I think we did that. I feel like we definitely made improvements that were needed. And I feel like Dobby could elaborate on this a lot more because it's all has to do with the gameplay.
Yeah, like there's just so much with Die Rise that just felt wrong, and there's so many like features that just kind of felt lackluster. Like the biggest one I think is like the key. because on like BO2 diaries, the elevator key, you pick it up, you can use it, but then you have to go pick it up again, and it was in such an inconvenient spot that it made it kind of just like there's no point. Like you're better off just not even bothering using the key unless you like have to send the elevator and spawn back up to the top. But even at that, the key is right next to that place. So I think like the change we made with the key, making it permanent and just all the, like I don't well, in case anybody like doesn't want spoilers, I won't spoil the cool new other things that we did with the key, but we did a lot more with the key than just making it a one-time use. And I think like improvements like that to the mechanics really help the flow of the map, and it gives you a lot more control, especially like without it, like you're just stuck waiting for elevators, and that is so much of the like how you traverse the map. So and I haven't seen any like feedback. It's like the maps came out a week ago. I haven't seen anybody saying that they don't like the key changes. If any, the only thing I hear about the key is like how much they like it. So like things like that, making those improvements were the goal, like from the beginning, taking the things that people hated about the map and improving them, or putting our own little twist on them without entirely reinventing the wheel and making it a whole different thing that it's not that like that makes it not feel like Dire-Rise anymore.
I think the key is my favorite change in the entire map. Just like that simple fix completely changes everything and repurposes all these different areas where normally like flow would be so time consuming, and now it's just like the flow just changes with that one simple fix. I want to kind of dive a bit deeper in that. Were there any like fixes to the map where you were like, okay, maybe it's like a happenstance thing or something where you were like, yeah, this small little change will completely reorganize the map?
I can think of one little thing that a few people noticed and they were just like so surprised about it. You know that spot near the dragon sign, like on the roof, where there's just it's like a catwalk, but it's near the radio tower where you do the Easter egg.
Oh yeah.
In BO2, you couldn't mantle onto that catwalk before to get back down onto the actual roof. So I added a mantle clip there, and people were like, "What?" Like just simple things like that. People were they were really thankful for, and I was just like, "It's just a mantle clip." Like,
Honestly, I think I was the one that like threw together the idea, but with the trample steam, we added this kind of like new ability sort of where there's special like places around the map where the trample steam kind of snaps into place, and you can see it. It's like it like outlines the trample steam, I think yellow. And when you place it in these locations, it gives you like a special trajectory that it launches you at. One example, I think it's like the craziest one. A lot of people really like it. If you know where like you typically build the trample steam on Dire-Rise, there's like a sort of like some debris to the right of the elevator right there, that lead into like the room with the sushi bar and the restaurant. And initially we were working on the map. People kept asking us, can you guys make that a barrier? Can you make that a door? Can we please get rid of that so we can go through there? Design wise, that would have like destroyed the flow, because that kind of like choosing whether you go to build the trample steam or whether you go down the restaurant to go towards the mystery box was like a whole key like point of the level design in that area. So getting rid of that barrier would have destroyed it. So instead we added a spot where like and this is just one example, where you can place a trample steam and fling through the gap in the debris there. And like that like subtle feature, like there's a lot of really insane jumps that help so much. I was talking earlier about helping with like traversing the map with like the elevator key, but like that allows you to like make some crazy jumps that you wouldn't be able to make normally with the trample steam. I think another example is in the upside down elevator shaft and like the second tower or the upside down tower, you can like go upwards, which normally you wouldn't be able to do. But you can use the trample steam in these certain spots to go back up. And it's all from that one tiny feature, that tiny idea. And I mean, and I'll be honest here, all I did was implement like the functionality of it, and then I just told Xela, hey, go put these spots around the map wherever you see fit. And then like I had no idea like how beneficial it would actually be. So like that little idea turned out to be such like an amazing feature for getting around the map.
yeah, People really like that lock spot near the sushi bar. I haven't seen anyone do the one on the roof. The really big one
Yeah, the one
that brings
that
you
goes to
from
the
the
two
Bowie
elevators.
knife to the
The
radio.
two, I mean, yeah.
I wonder. I don't even know if most people know it's there.
Ooh,
That is a really cool one though. That I think I would like to see more people doing.
I'll definitely try that
Yeah.
one out my next playthrough. I want to kind of get back into like the beginning stages of working on a project like this. How difficult was it porting the original map into a workable state in Black Ops 3?
Well, with every map, you gotta pretty much just trace over the geo so you get over all the scaling right. And with this map, holy hell, it was a nightmare trying to get that model set up because as you know, the buildings are like collapsed into each other. At least, well, the first tower is actually just one tower. Like the upside down tower is part of the first tower. It's just broken and tipped over upside down. So I had to try and separate those pieces and try to get them on the grid as close as I could and get them rotated on the right axis. That way I could actually map over it. I wasn't mapping it at an angle for it. So I mean, yeah, that that was horrible. But it worked though. And eventually once I blocked it all out, I just saved them as prefabs and I just rotated them back in place. And then and when we do block out, we always we get basic gameplay done. So like all the zones, all the spawners, uh the barriers, stuff like that. All that stuff gets done very early. So that we have that all good to go and ready so that we can start testing the map as soon as possible and playing it. And then once that's done, I just, start doing a detail pass on the map.
So for like the blockout on the geo, I didn't have a hand in that, but I did have a little bit of a hand in what he talked about, like doing the zoning. I put together like a little mod that I mean it's nothing complicated, but for plutonium, that just prints out like your current zone, and that helped
Oh yeah.
us zone like diarize on BO3 the exact same as it was zoned on BO2, and that was crucial for diarize because like the way you can traverse the map with like the trample steam and how you can go from spawn, there's the bank, you could open doors from in so many different orders and certain zones, like you could reach without even opening any doors. So it was really complicated to get the zoning right to make sure that you can't get to somewhere that's not active and end up dying. You know how inactive zones are. Um, but and I also pour I mean, you can't just outright use Black Ops 2 scripts, but I ripped the Black Ops 2 scripts so that we could see what zones, like how in the script, what they had set up for what's initially active and what doors open what. And so, and as far as like that went, I definitely helped get that going. And then once he had like the zones set up and then block out, then he went ahead and sent that over to me, and that's the my version of Diarize.
Yeah, it also like if you're working with someone and you're blocking it out, it also creates like a really good like testing ground for scripters, It's very easy for them to just put stuff in and
Oh
check
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
out.
Because I mentioned it in some like I think some Diarize update video I made, but like me having the blockout makes it really easy to test literally anything because I don't when I compile and link my map, I don't have to compile all these textures and models that Xela has. It doesn't take me a half hour to do a compile. It takes
Yep.
me like 30 seconds at most. So I'm able to test really quickly by having that environment. But yeah, we kind of got off topic from the original question. But yeah,
No, I love getting off
yeah.
topic. I want to ask about like remastering in particular. Do either of you find it like more rewarding when it comes to remastering a map, or do you find creating original projects more enticing?
Oh, original projects are the number one thing I want to do right now. Because I am kind of getting sick of doing the remakes. But we still got transit left, so I would gotta get through that. But after that, I want to go fully into just doing 100% original maps and just make our own shit. Like sure, like seeing the before and after of an old map remade into BO3. It's pretty rewarding to see that, but it would definitely feel way more rewarding making a new map and seeing what people think about it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I definitely prefer fully like original maps because it's like with Die Rise, it's cool and all to like watch like people play the map now that it's out and see them react and like watch them find secrets, but it's also a remaster. 95% of the content is the same as the original. So there's only going to be so much for people to discover, and there's only like most of the actual physical map is not going to be new to people aside from it being, looking a hell of a lot better. So in that aspect, I do prefer like original maps because everything is like a discovery and is like has a shock factor. But I mean, there of course, like Xela said, there's a certain feeling to the before and after with the remaster, bringing the old maps, in my case, like the old features forward and then improving upon them. But yeah. Definitely want to do our own thing and try to cook up something new.
Definitely making new stuff, I feel, is 100% more rewarding because you automatically have more ownership of something original. So I think therefore it's definitely more rewarding.
Original maps are nice. The only map I've got currently out is Evil Dead, and that was nice to kind of like create something that already existed, but then putting like a semi-unique twist to the map as I kind of figured it out was really helpful. And on this new map I'm making, it's definitely like a very original map because the castle that I'm adapting is not very like visible in the movie I'm taking it from, so it's like I have to get more original with it. And sometimes I do wish for like an easy remake where I'm like that's the base, now I just have to work off of that. But then at the same time it's like when you get something new and original, it's just that awesome feeling of yeah, I made this is a unique vision, and it hopefully people
Definitely.
enjoy it. So Die Rise was in development, I want to say for around 2 years, if I'm correct.
Pretty much exactly 2 years. Yep.
Yep, we started in January of 2023.
Wow.
Yep.
Having a project like this and it taking up so much of your time, did you ever find that parts of it were just time consuming? You were like, I want to map anything other than this, or I'm like, I'm not scripting this today.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, some parts like that I'll point out that definitely, I mean, they did end up feeling like that because there were parts that got cut from the map where like originally we had like a third Easter egg plan that ended up getting cut. And we also had like a ground level plan where you'd go to like the streets below Die Rise. And there's a little bit of mapping that got done for like extra areas in that ground level that ended up just being wasted time because I want to say what hardware limitations, is that the best way to put that? You're better to explain that.
It was the total X model limit. So it wasn't unique models that the limit I hit for. The limit I hit for it was the actual total amount, which is like it's around 70,000, which is like just really low when you think about it.
70,000,
Like,
yeah, jeez.
Yeah, but like
I wasn't even worried about it because I thought the number was so high, but it's not. It was it was really demotivating hitting that limit.
Yeah, after spending like so much time, all like originally like the that street level was its own separate map just to map it easier, if I recall correctly. And then like after a little bit of detailing, I think you were like on your ways for like one of the buildings down there. You like threw it into Die Rise to see how it looked in the actual map, but then like did it just not even compile? I think, or did it like
Yeah,
it did
it
something?
wouldn't even link.
Yeah, you
It
couldn't even
wouldn't link.
compile the map because there was too many models just from adding the street level. So
Yeah.
that was a pretty big hit. And that was a little bit of a setback for the stuff that Xela had to do. But on the bright side, it did also give them less work, which meant that the map ended up coming out a little bit sooner.
I was really liking the way it was looking though. Sure.
I remember like being in some dev streams. I was like, oh my god, this looks so sick. And then hearing that it got cut and that you'd reached the model limit, I was like, oh shit. One, I was like, okay, he reached the model limit. This map is going to be amazing. It's going to look great. And then the other, I was like, oh fuck, not going to be able to play that. Is there any is there any chance that you'll release that section as its own separate map in the future with maybe that third Easter egg tied in?
We've definitely had that question a lot.
Yeah,
The third Easter egg I can definitely shut down, because that Easter egg was, so the whole thing about the third Easter egg is that it was supposed to expand on the lesser told and more ignored, neglected story of Die Rise, like the whole like Flesh group. It was supposed to be all about them, and talk about the characters involved with that group. And so that was supposed to be around Die Rise and like be in Die Rise.
Mm-hmm.
So the third Easter egg wouldn't. I feel like if we ever did make that street level into its own map, it probably wouldn't have an Easter egg. It probably would just be some little survival
It'd be like
map.
another town map.
Yeah, like a town. Like it was pretty much the size of like a little bit smaller than town.
It took place at an intersection and
yeah,
there was lava and stuff. So like it was pretty similar to town, which I thought that sort of layout for a street level would be perfect.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of theme I went for with that. But like it coming out as its own map, I mean, dude, who knows? Maybe someday when I have nothing else to do, maybe I'll want to go back to it, you know?
Well, I'll be excited when it does. Like I said, I was watching the dev streams and I was like, fuck, this looks cool. When you kind of hit that model limit and it's a bit discouraging, was there like any optimization to try to like reel it back in?
Yeah, you could so there's this program called Zeus. I don't know if you've heard of it. It basically turns prefabs into models. And what I could have done is I could have just prefabbed a bunch of models anywhere around the map and just Zeused it and made all those models one model. But I really did not want to do that because, one, if I ever wanted to move or if I had to move those models ever again, I would have to go into the model itself and try to move it in a .blend file with nothing else around it. So I was thinking about it like how it would affect me in the future if I ever had to move something. So I really did not want to do that. I just thought it would be better to not have this than to put these limitations on myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. It sounds like a hassle, and then once you do it, everything is locked in.
Yeah, it sort of just sets it in stone. And if I wanted to go back to how it was originally, I would have to separate all the models and place them all again. Like it would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Well, expanding on like optimization, this is like a rather big map. I imagine there's a bunch of reflection probes everywhere. How did you go about
I almost
just
hit the limit for that too.
Almost hit the limit for that? Oh shit.
Yeah, because you can have like 250 probes per zone volume, and I think we're at like 238 or something.
Oh gee, what's the compile for the map?
The compile it takes what is it? I think it takes like over 20 minutes in total to compile this map.
Oh shit. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So for a compile, that's pretty long.
I'm sitting at about 15 minutes for mine right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty long. Yeah.
No, I just it's the way my SSD is set up. It's real shit. If I did it better, it'd probably be fine. Dobby, were there any like scripting tricks that you did to keep performance stable?
I mean, scripting wise, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of like certain things you can do in script to make sure you're not hindering performance. If you have like loops, you don't want like I try not to like check certain things too often. there are certain functions like you might not think about it, but the function to check the distance between 2 points is a it's not like the craziest thing, but it's not very optimized, and it's weird because the reason is because it uses the square root to calculate the distance for the distance formula. So of like if you have some loop that checks that, like that calls that distance function every single frame, and you have God knows how many different scripts that need to worry about distance, then like little things like that add up. Like that's just like a very like specific example, and there's ways around that. But I just with like looping, I try to like weigh how valuable and how often I really need to check something. Like, do I need to check it every single frame? Can I wait half a second or a second to not be so intensive and potentially cause like lag spikes by doing too much at once? Another thing, somewhat script related, is effects, whether it's scripted effects or effects in the map. Making sure that the effect elements themselves are optimized and have like culling set up. So if you're too far away, it'll cull out the effect. Because if everything around the entire map was always rendering, it would be a lot more intensive compared to like only rendering things that you would actually be able to see or that you would be in range of. And then as far as scripting effects, there's you like you don't want to like spawn some entity and then play an effect on it and then just that's it, because like then you have to clean up the entity, because like I'm sure you're familiar the G spawn error when you have more than 1024 entities in the level. You'll get the G spawn, and that typically is caused by either poor scripting habits or effect habits. Just making sure that you're cleaning up after yourself whenever you're spawning things in and script, making sure the effects are getting cleaned up, all the elements, so that you don't have just trash clogging up your entity count and causing people to crash in higher rounds, which is especially important because Die Rise has like the Sliquifier, which throws all these puddles on the ground and throws zombies exploding and all these different effects, and making sure that was optimized was crucial. So that, because I mean that's like the one thing that people use to go to high rounds, and if that wasn't optimized, people basically wouldn't be able to go to high rounds. So yeah, there's definitely lots of little
that reminded
things.
me of something, the G spawn error. I remember when we got that, it was like around, it wasn't that long ago, it was like a couple of weeks ago. We got the G spawn error because we were missing one sound from the map.
Oh yeah, we had like a G spawn error. It was because we were missing a sound. Like the linker said, "Hey, can't find this sound file," and it G spawned when we tried to go in the map, which is really weird.
It's so weird.
But yeah,
I want to delve more into how I optimized the map when I was doing the environmental detailing and stuff.
Please.
So for every model that's in the map, they all have LODs, whether I had to auto generate them or not. Every single one of them's got an LOD that needs one. Some models you really can't put LODs on. Like say a model has like 12 triangles on it. You can't really bring that back much. So those
like
models
the
don't.
Mahjong tiles.
Yeah.
They're literally little rectangular, like they're just little boxes. Like they don't need LODs.
Every single model has an LOD, LODs in plural. And bullet collision set up right. We always try to use the lowest try count possible for bullet collision because there is a limit for bullet collision. So we always try to do that. And mip maps. That's something I have realized recently, how important mip maps really are in a map.
Yeah, we should definitely like break that down in case any other modders are going to watch this kind of thing.
Good tip for mappers: if like your map is just straight up crashing, just no error, no anything, just nothing. Most of the time, it's going to have to do with whether or not your images in your map have mip map base sizes set up or not. Which basically mip maps, to sum it up, they're just LODs for images pretty much, and you can set whatever resolution that an image is set to. You can decrease the base size. So it's like 1 out of 4. So say you have a 2048 by 2048 image and you're putting bitmaps on it, you can change the base size. So if you do 1 for 1, it's just going to stay 2048. If you do 1 for 2, it's going to be 1024. If you do 1 3, it's going to be 512, and so on and so on. So you can like control that. I had this problem on Clinic where my map, whenever I tried to run the map, it would just straight up crash, and that was because I was using Sky's Cold War pack, which I still am. But that pack, it had basically, or it didn't have any bitmap set up for the images for the guns.
Really?
And guns take up a lot of space in your map because it's a lot of images, it's a lot of materials. So that was one of the things that was making Clinic crash a lot. But once I added bitmaps and stuff, I fixed it. And with lighting too, that's it's pretty important to cull your lights. So basically as LODs for lights, you just you can set a culling distance for them, so you can control when it cuts off and when it cuts back in. That way the light isn't always rendering, even when you can't see it. Caulking, I did do a fair amount of caulking, but something I've noticed as I've gotten more experience doing this is caulking really does not do a whole lot these days for how well your map performs. It can help with with memory and stuff, not hitting the VRAM limit, but it's really not a big difference, honestly. So yeah, I didn't really caulk too much.
Yeah, I think the caulking is like caulking and LODs are like the one thing I know in optimizing a map. And yeah, so I didn't know like a lot about minmap. That's super useful info.
It's something I neglected for a while, and then I really didn't know anything about. But it can make or break your map, like literally, if you don't have them set up. It's wild.
Yeah, and I'll add on to like mip maps. I would even go as far like Xela said, if you have issues with your maps crashing, go check on your mip maps. I think that and everybody who's making like maps who are going for like this certain degree of detail or who have really large or complex maps should be like checking any custom assets they're using, whether it's gun packs or looking at custom models, making sure that the images have mip maps, because it does go a long way to not only optimize your map for itself, but if you're the type of person who wants to like be supportive of mods, like recently, before Dire came out, I was working with Sphinx, who makes the Ultimate Experience mod. It's probably one of the most popular, if not the most popular mods on the workshop.
Oh, I play that every time I load into a map.
Oh yeah, and
it's a great mod.
Originally his mod did not work with Dire. It just crashed, and we couldn't figure out why for a while. Mm-hmm. But then what happened is, we loaded up his mod, and we looked at.
We use Greyhound to load up the images.
Yeah, we just looked at we looked at the images, and we saw that there's a lot of like large images, like 2048, 4K, and so and then the idea of like what happened with Clinic popped in our heads. So we checked with Sphinx, and he realized that most of his like assets on his mod just don't have mip maps. So then, sure enough, he went and he set them up for all of his custom assets in his mod, and then magically Dire worked. So a mod as massive as that and a map like as complex and as big as Dire being able to come together and work together because of that one little like method of optimization just goes to show how crucial it truly is if you want your map to be like optimized and just
it's very important.
Oh yeah.
I always neglected it in the past. Like I didn't care about it. But now it's like I always make sure that whenever I drag a model in or whenever I use a material that I haven't used before, I always check to see if it has mip maps. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I want to kind of dive into a bit of workflow for mapping and scripting. What is kind of like the average day to day for just getting things done?
Well, for me with Dire, pretty much every day, just going from prefab to prefab trying to get it all done. Because, you know, when we made this map, we wanted to make it like a true remaster, a remake. It is a remake because it is completely made from the ground up.
Mhm.
Like, there are no old assets in the game. Well, the zombie models are. They are the BO2 ones because I'm not a character artist. I don't know how to do that shit. I am not that talented. But everything else, though, like the map itself, yeah, it is 100% remade. If I couldn't find an asset I could use in another Call of Duty using Greyhound, I would have to end up, you know, just completely remaking it. And that was a lot of fun, you know, just rethinking and redoing all the assets for the map, all the unique assets for the map for Die Rise. It was a lot of fun, but I mean, it took a lot of time and it was a lot of work, but I think in the end it was definitely worth it. So, you know, we always had people like tweeting at us and stuff saying, "Oh, why don't you guys just use the BO2 Geo and just upscale the textures?" Well, that's not a fucking remaster. That's a port.
Mhm.
And it's noticeable too, the difference. So, tried to go as hard as I could with the mapping.
Yeah, and then on scripting, um, with Die Rise, I've kind of shifted my philosophy for how I'm going to work on things with Transit. But with Die Rise, I sort of did multiple passes across everything. Like initially I did a pass to get everything functional and just working. I kind of ignored any effects or sounds or anything that kind of just all the extra bits, and I just made everything functional at first. So I got like the bank and the fridge and the HUD going, and the what else, like the elevators, I got that going. And then I did another pass where I'd go through and I'd set up all the effects, whether I needed to port effects from Black Ops 2 or I needed to make entirely new effects. And then I'd do another pass where I'd go through like over a couple things and I'd set up the sounds. And I just do that for the different chunks of the map. That was like the different testing stages one by one. Like with the leapers, I'd go through, I'd code them, make them leap around and go after the player, have leaper rounds, and then I'd go through and I'd set up any of the sounds that they make, the noise that they make, their spawning in and dying sounds, and then go back and do all the cool new effects and stuff that had to get done. And that was pretty much how it went for Die Rise.
Mhm.
And for Transit, I'm gonna definitely shift it up where the goal is going to be to 100% fully implement a single feature before I move on to the next thing. Um, and I think the first thing very first thing I'm gonna do is grab the zombie models and get those in the map. And then the actual first feature is gonna be the bus. I'm gonna do 100% everything for the bus, get it driving around the map,
Mhm.
get it stopping in all locations, upgrades. You can put the parts on the bus, zombies hopping on it, everything. And that's going to be the little shift from Die Rise to Transit, where I'm going to try to fully complete one thing. That way, I shouldn't have to go back and double back on like a million different features of the map and a million and one different little areas, and I just so I don't forget anything. I'll fully do one thing and move on to the next. I feel like that's going to be better for me, especially with how complex and how much goes into the maps that I'm working on now. But I mean, obviously, like everybody's going to be different in their workflow.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
When keeping track of stuff that's like this complex, do you kind of use like other applications like Trello or Discord to just keep everything on track?
For with Die Rise, we didn't use any kind of application. We just have everything written down in like our own private Discord. Like right now, all Die Rise has left is bug fixing, pretty much.
Mhm.
So I have my own list of bugs. Each time I get done with a bug, I'll take it off the to-do list and I'll put it on the patch notes that'll be coming out in the update. And I just go one by one. Back when we were still like working on the map, we had a list of the features, and it had either like an X or a check mark whether or not it was done. And that's how we kept track of those. With Transit, we've shifted to we're using a Trello now so that we have track of every little section of the map for the mapping,
Mhm.
and then also every scripted feature and every custom asset that we would need. Like everything's really broken down, really outlined a lot better on Trello than it is on Discord. So that we're definitely using that going forward.
Yeah. We had a similar thing with the guns, but we were just
Oh
using
yeah,
an Excel spreadsheet for that, which
oh
works
yeah,
pretty
the
well.
guns. Yeah. The guns, we have an Excel spreadsheet. It's pretty, really complex, but I won't go into the details of it. But yeah, pretty much Excel for all the guns that we need to do and any attachments and any little pieces.
On the topic of guns, how did you get those created? What was like the process behind bringing them back into Diarize fully remodeled and scripted?
Basically the same approach with the mapping. Remake it from the ground up, and I would use the old model as a base, so that way I could get, all the measurements and the scaling correct, Basically, blocking the gun out like you would a map. And then for all once I start detailing it and stuff, I use a lot of real life references because it's kind of hard to use a game that uses mostly 512 by 512 images, trying to figure out what part that is on the gun, So I would just try and use real weapons as a reference to see if that's what they were trying to do. Once I make the high poly for it, I would then have to make the model again pretty much for the low poly. That way it can actually be used in game. And then once I'm done with that, you got to set up all the UVs and stuff, material slots and all that. Then you just throw it in the substance and you get to texturing it. Once that's all done, that was when I was pretty much good to go to send it to Dobby so he could get all the animation set up for it and everything else that needs to be set up.
And that's where I take over. So once Zella's done with the model of a gun, he'll shoot it my way. Or I will also say, in many cases, not all the remastered guns were made by Xela. They're like the AN94. That's in BO3, so we just use the BO3 one. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think another example, the Vector is from the Modern Warfare 2 campaign. The Barrett is from Cold War. There's a lot of guns from. I have written down somewhere what guns are from where, but we took guns from new games the best that we could, so we didn't have to spend weeks to months remodeling them. But once I got a gun from Xela or wherever, I then threw it in Maya and I got it rigged up to match the original Black Ops 2 rig, so that I could use the original animations, and then I fully reported all of the animations. Now this might seem at first like, hey, what about the Sky weapon ports? He's already ported all of those. Why don't you use those? Well, there are some problems with Sky's ports, and it's nothing against him. His ports are a godsend. Somebody that goes through damn near every Call of Duty and does that for the community, and that's amazing. But there are some issues with them, and especially the older ones, with I want to say Black Ops 1 and 2 ports at least. They have I'm assuming it was the rig that he was using, but there's issues with the wrists, and the animations just aren't ported right. If you look at his M1911, your wrist is kind of like angled really awkwardly, and it's like you're barely holding on to the grip of the gun. But then mine reported with the actual accurate animations, you can see it's fully gripping the gun. It doesn't look like you're actually your hands all the way around it, and it's really noticeable if you put them side by side. You can see just how different all of the animations are fully reported. And I mean, it doesn't take that much time anyway to report. It takes maybe, I have some program that does it automatically that just sends all the animations through Maya. But that's one aspect, and then I go and I set the weapon up in Ape, and then I move on to the next problem. Sky's ports, again, still amazing. Shout out to Sky for the Skylord for doing those. But his older ports do have a history of being extremely overpowered. I think when I was originally going through and overhauling all the stats, I noticed that the base, unupgraded Black Ops 2 pistols did the same damage as a pack-a-punched heavy sniper from Black Ops 3. It was insane how much damage his guns did. But I nerfed them into the ground, and I matched I matched the stats and the ammo counts and the damage location multipliers. Everything is perfectly matched to Black Ops 2. A couple of things are buffed a little bit. Some weapons felt a little lackluster, in ammo. I know one, the SMR, everybody hates.
Oh yeah.
Definitely gave that one a big buff. So the SMR is definitely not to be ignored this time around. But I overhauled the stats, and then lastly, I went through and redid all of the sounds. With all the sounds, I made sure to set up proper like reverb so that when you're shooting them in and out of buildings and you're in different kinds of rooms, it echoed in different amounts. And then also fine tuning the volume of the sounds, how they sound like around you. I can't think of the other word. The LFE, the LFE sounds. I made sure so you can hear like the bass in every single gunshot that you fired, which they didn't have any of that in the Black Ops 2 like sound files that I ripped for the weapons. So just really going through and fine tuning all the details and the like every little aspect of the guns to make them not only look a lot better but also feel and sound a lot better in your hand.
I know you guys are working on like a Black Ops 2 mod to bring those weapons back into like separate maps. Are you planning on releasing the remastered weapons onto like a DevRAW of something of that, or are you planning on just having that as a mod?
That's whether or not we release it is honestly up to Xela since he is remastering most of those models. So I'm gonna let him give that one. But I mean, like,
I would honestly be fine with that. You know, letting people use our weapons and stuff.
I know that there's some cases where
people really like that.
We have shared and are planning to share the weapons, like the buried map being made by Slayan. I've already shared the weapons with him really a long time ago, so they're pretty outdated, but I have shared and will share updates with him. The Mob of the Dead remastered by Cop for that, or Sean. We shared the weapons with him as well, so a lot of those weapons are remastered weapons. And then also, yeah, just like anybody, pretty much anybody who asks, like we wouldn't mind sharing. So yeah, we'll probably once they're 100% done, we wouldn't really have a problem with posting them for people to use. I tried to make when I set up the weapons. I will throw this out there. Whenever I set up the weapons, I try to make sure that all of the assets are unique. So that way, if you install the weapon pack, it's not going to conflict with anything. Because if you I'm sure you might be familiar, like maybe like models from like newer games, like Black Ops 4 and after. A lot of the assets are like hashed names, or they have like mixed map materials, so they have a lot of shared assets and shared images or materials. So if you install some like weapon pack or something from one person and install something else from another, you might get duplicate assets in Ape. And then you have to go and decide, hey, which one do I delete? How do I know what to delete? Should I use this duplicate purge program and pray that it deletes the right thing? With these, like when I set these up, I make sure everything's unique so that you won't have duplicates. Like there's nothing else that's going to be named like these. I think it'll be pretty user friendly when that does come around.
Yep,
that's great. Love to hear it. I hope it's sometime soon, but I know you guys like to cook, and when you cook, you fucking chef it up. So I'll be very patient for that. I want to kind of get into like this the system, Dobby, that you made of having things be saved for future games. What was it like setting that up and getting that working with like the bank, the weapon locker, and the ranking system?
So I'll break it down, try to break it down as simply as I can. Currently, there's like two main like common ways to save data between games. And I switched to the second one eventually, and I'll explain why. The first one, it basically uses loadout slots, like for like gobblegum loadout, like weapon, like attachment customization. Like it uses like that customization, but there's a lot of limitations with that. That you have limited space. You can only save like a certain number of like slots for all the different like loadout like pieces of data. You can only save integer values up to like between like a certain number range. And the worst of all is that the data saves under the mod that you're currently playing. So if you're playing Die Rise, obviously the mod currently loaded is like ZM Die is the code name. So if you go and you then play Buried and it has the same systems, your data is not going to transfer because it's under ZM Buried or whatever that map's called. Or if you're running like the Ultimate Experience mod, your data is going to be saved under that folder. Because like, if you go to like your folders and you go to the workshop content and then all the workshop items have a number, that is where that loadout data is saved. So those are like the big downsides to why I didn't want to use that system after I found another way. Because I mean, it doesn't save across maps. It wouldn't save across game. Like it would save in between games of Die Rise, but I mean, you would have needed a mod to do something like a super Easter egg. And then the other system that I use doesn't that's not a problem at all. The other system is using file IO, which is input and output with Lua. I mean, if you've played Die Rise, you can open your Black Ops 3 folder and you can go open it. It looks really obscure, so you could try to customize your stats manually. Like I don't it's not encrypted. I don't try to like stop people from doing that, because like anybody who would is either going to mess it up and break something, or they don't know what they're looking at. But like it's literally just a text file that saves a bunch of numbers with indexes associated with a certain stat and a table, and then the actual value. And then as soon as you load into Die Rise, it reads that file and it says, okay, these are your stats. There are, unfortunately, there's only one problem that I'm aware of, and it's that certain things on Black Ops 3 disable that functionality and the functions to do that. The biggest one is the boy client that got really popular. So that's like it got like shut down. I don't think like the client itself got a cease and desist, but the guy got like a cease and desist for something else, and then he shut that down to be safe. But there was like a fork of that client, and people still use it. Unfortunately, one of the things that they do is disable file IO, which means that your data will not save between games if you're using it. There's typically two reasons though that people will use it. One is performance. If it supposedly increases your performance on the game. I know that I've literally like seen the videos. It makes the menu performance it's like seamless and smooth. You click a button and it actually does what you click. It doesn't take 30 seconds to load. And the other thing is security. People are super scared about security. There's been a lot of content creators and YouTubers have unfortunately stirred this fear that everybody is in danger of getting hit offline or getting booted out of games if they play online in normal BO3, which sure, it could happen. But I mean, nobody's targeting you if you're some random Joe Schmo playing Black Ops 3 Zombies. But I mean, sure, but if you still want to be safe, you still can. There's the T7 patch that was made by Sirius. That works perfectly fine. He has videos on his channel explaining how it works. If you have concerns about security, and you want your data to be saved on these projects, then you can just run the patch and you will be protected. So that is my recommendation. But other than that, though, like using file IO also lets me save whatever. I can save as much as data as I want. I mean, I pretty much just I think I just save like all the typical stats that you would, like kills, total score, rounds, like random stuff like that. But yeah, it was definitely a process. And then something that I'm going to do, because it was recommended to me by a friend. I mean, it wasn't recommended. They more so told me that that's what they do, and I'm just going to steal their idea. But I'm pretty much, when you load into Die Rise, I'm going to make it so that it just kind of like notifies you like, hey, we're using file IO to save your data to a text file. Is this cool with you? Because I don't want to. There was a situation, I want to say, back a couple years ago now. A map came out and they basically...
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
I'll just be blunt here. They grabbed your IP so that they could upload your stats to a server.
Ooh, shit.
And they didn't tell people that. That's the problem. Obviously, well, they shouldn't have been grabbing your IP, but they just didn't tell people that. And then it came out after the fact, and then the map got like tanked and nobody played it because they were scared because they grabbed your IP. And that was a good point to think about. And I want to disclose, like, hey, this, if you like agree and have no problem, then your data will be saved on a text file. Just to, be, I don't know the word. Yeah, transparent. To be transparent with the people who play our maps. And if they say no, then it just won't do that.
No, that's interesting. I'm currently working on like a remaster of a map that isn't in zombies, and the person I'm working on it with wants to do like a save system like that for a mechanic in the game, and we I don't know, we want to do it, but we couldn't figure out kind of like the proper way to do it. I think
Yeah.
that's
I
definitely going
think
to
I
be very
know.
helpful.
I think I know what you're talking about and what you would be wanting to save.
Hmm.
That would be, yeah. I mean, I could definitely help out down the road, with that. I'd be down. But yeah, I mean, um, yeah, it's definitely possible.
Ooh, that's amazing. I want to kind of get back on like the scripting aspects and kind of like mapping with iterations. How many iterations would you normally go through to get like a script working correct, or kind of would you reset a room if it wasn't feeling right when you were mapping it?
Hmm. For a room on Diarize, like for a remake, I find that happens a lot less often. With new maps though, for me, oh my god. Like I don't know if you've heard of this, but when I was making North Wales, it's on my art station, but I remade that entire map like 3 or 4 times.
Really?
Like, yeah, because I was never happy with it. But the last iteration I was the most happy with. But like for Diarize, I don't think there was a room where I went back to it and thought I could I could redo this from scratch and make it so much better. Uh, I didn't really have that problem with Diarize. I don't think. I feel like maybe the starting room I might have had trouble with at first because that was when I was first starting on the map. So maybe I was like second guessing myself when making the room. Yeah, not so much on remakes, I don't think. But for new projects, oh yeah, I am always second guessing myself, being like, oh, maybe I could do this, or maybe I can have the player go up this way instead of that way, or like for environment art, or oh, maybe I can make this edge decal poke out a little bit more, or maybe I can use a model for this, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. That's always a thing with the new maps for me.
Oh no,
I've
yeah,
noticed.
I feel you. I'm working. I'll be working with a fanatic on Army of Darkness, and he'll be like, "Wait, I thought you've completed that room. Why are you still working on it?" I'm like, "Well, and it was bad, so I'm gonna
Oh,
completely redo it."
yeah, there is one thing about Diarize that I did do that a lot with, which was the skybox.
Hmm.
If you were following development through from start to finish with that, you'll notice that I changed the skybox probably 4 times. Like I just kept iterating on it. That's one thing I guess I kind of struggle with is the skybox. Like I always end up changing it no
Hmm.
matter what. It's never it's never set in stone when I first make it, for sure.
Oh yeah, skyboxes change all the time for me. It's
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to tell how your map is gonna look with a skybox when you haven't made the map really yet, you
mhm.
know? So once I like finished mapping Diarize, like or when I was getting close to it, I started to see more of what I had in mind for it, or what I wanted to do with it, and how I wanted it to look. So that I definitely iterated on a lot was a skybox.
For Diarize, probably like the new stuff that we did. Like obviously the old stuff, the goal was to just remaster it, bring it forward. But anything that was new, like the elevator key, how it should work, we definitely had to experiment around with it to get it right. Like originally, so we had this feature with the key where you can basically change the perk that's in the elevator. Like the doors will close and then reopen with a new perk. And originally, how you activated that um, was like you had to like double tap the interact button, but this ended up not working out too well. Like it was a little buggy when you're using a controller. There were some other issues. I had to experiment around with different ways to to access that feature because I didn't want to get rid of the feature because people really liked it, but I needed to like change it up. I think another example probably was how the Easter egg worked. And because with the Easter egg on BO2, you need all 4 players, whether it's the part where you have to stand on 4 symbols around the map at the same time, or the part where you have to place down 4 trample steams on the map. And obviously, if you don't have 4 people, those are not possible.
Mhm.
So I had to do like different iterations, whether it's concept or actual implementation of how that would work with less than 4 players, before I finally narrowed down to where it is now on release for how it works. And then, of course, on any original projects, definitely reiterating all the time, doubling back, going over old work and changing it up based on what I think would be better, for sure.
No, yeah, definitely reiteration is my my weakest trait. I am constantly just going back and trying to fix things. Was there any one thing you can think of that changed the most throughout development?
Um, I'm trying to think. I'm not sure. I'm over here pulling up the features list. I don't think so. I mean,
I mean, it is like a remaster, so a lot of the things
yeah,
are the same.
I I feel like I feel like not a whole lot feature wise really changed over the course of development. Just because it's like a remaster. I think I know that if anything, we initially had plans to have a lot more for the map.
Hmm.
Like we were gonna have like if you've played Die Rise, when you load in, you're met with this menu where you can choose like to disable a couple features, or we have an intro cutscene that plays the original cinematic, and you can like choose to skip that, and then you can start the game, things like that. Originally, that menu was going to look totally different. It was going to look like a Black Ops 2 custom games lobby. We originally were going to have every single Black Ops 2 weapon in the map, but that ended up getting cut. We were originally going to have a shield. It was going to be like a cool dragon shield that fit the map,
Ooh.
but that ended up changing. We decided, I mean, the map that would make the map way too easy. I mean, it's already pretty easy with the wonder weapon being infinite damage. So we had to make some like design philosophy choices about what goes in the map.
And with
So like,
PhD too,
oh
that
yeah,
did.
PhD. Yeah, PhD also helped make the map a lot easier.
Hmm.
Watching people
But yeah.
like use that to get back to spawn quick. That was
Oh yeah, because like with PhD, we
something I
made
never
it to
thought about.
where if you have the perk and you just fall off the map, instead of just dying, you just get teleported back to spawn. It'll red screen you, but it does this big PhD explosion so that anything there would die. But it basically what it ended up doing unintentionally is giving. I've seen it a lot in like speedrunners where they'll be doing some step off somewhere in the map, and then they'll jump off the map and quickly get back to spawn instantly.
Yep.
And like that, I guess that's another example of a question way earlier of like an unintentional effect of something that we did. That was really cool. But yeah,
No, having the early access people play the map and you seeing that and how how you play the map and how regular people will play the map, it's a very different experience. And I want to know, how did you kind of like apply changes from playtests, or were you leaving things alone most of the time?
um, well there was so I'd probably say it went either one of two ways. Like either somebody would give us some feedback and we'd be like, absolutely not, that doesn't make any sense. Why would that be there? Or somebody would give us some feedback and we'd be like, I didn't think of that. That's a really damn good idea. Like I think one instance, well, I guess one instance was kind of in the middle. Somebody suggested we should move the Bowie knife wall by over to the first tower to make it more like useful. Because by the time you get to it, you've already turned on power, you've already passed the Galvanuckles, so you probably would have bought them, if not have the money to buy them. So it
Mhm.
just makes they felt kind of useless. And I was like, no, I'm not moving them, but I like this idea of giving them a better purpose. So I had that gave me the idea to add an upgrade to upgrade the Bowie knife to make it better than the Galvanuckles, to give it a new purpose in the map.
Ooh, okay.
But I can't. I'm trying to think of another like specific one that actually ended up getting implemented. Oh, when you use the bank on our map, The bank on the map is the showers, and I made this little effect where these like dollar bills like fly out of the shower head when you're using it, like withdrawing from the bank.
Mhm.
And that was from a piece of feedback. Somebody was like, "Hey, it'd be cool if there's an animation of money falling out," and I was like, "You're damn right it would. I'm gonna do that."
Yeah, it was
And
cool.
then I don't remember who had the idea, but we also have an animation of the like when you use the elevator key, you actually see the physical key go into the keyhole and turn.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if that was a piece of feedback, but definitely their feedback definitely goes a long way, and a lot of the time does get implemented. And if a lot of people like if there's like a change that a lot of people want, we definitely will like put it in. I think another example is a very early one. People asked, "Hey, the music Easter egg for the map, will you be able to play it just once, or can you replay it?" And that gave me the idea to make it replayable, so I did. But yeah, definitely feedback is listened to. We're not Call of Duty.
Yeah, that actually reminded me of when we used to have banana colada in the map, and then we removed it because banana colada and the liquefier do pretty much the exact same
They
thing.
do, yeah, they literally do the same thing. Yeah.
So we just got rid of the banana colada perk. I feel like that's totally justifiable though, because I mean it's basically a duplicate of something that's already in the
Yeah,
map.
it's the same perk, or it's the same function. Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like definitely like adding features and cutting back is such like an interesting thing that not a lot of people discuss about. When you add a feature, is it important for players to have a certain feature, or do you find it important for the gameplay itself?
I'm definitely way more focused on how it's going to affect the map, because something it's like Xela mentioned, we removed banana colada. We also removed, I want to say, 2 other custom perks that were like
Oh
not
yeah,
like custom community
it
perks that like aren't
was Snail's Pace
yeah,
and
Snail Space and Vigor Rush.
Vigor
Um,
Rush. Yeah,
Yeah, but like Snail Space, that made the map way too easy. It slows down zombies when they get close to you, and then Vigor Rush, it's basically just double tap. It makes your weapons so much stronger. And we took that and thought we don't want the map to just be free to play, like free as in like easy. And we also wanted to shift our perk choices to be strictly official perks. So any like Treyarch perks. We ended up sticking with just the perks that are in Black Ops 3 and replacing Widow's Wine with PhD.
Mhm.
But like
yeah,
so like stuff like that, we definitely like take their feedback and weigh it with the gameplay of the map. Like I was saying, when we removed the perks, people demanded that we add them back. They're like, "Hey, what perks are we going to replace them with, or can we get those added back, or can it be an option to have them in the map?" But as people really wanted those back, and like that's the kind of the time where we have to unfortunately be the bad guy to them and be like, for the betterment of the map and the actual like the core intended experience as the developers,
yep.
we had to basically not ignore their feedback, but just kind of deny their request. It's like a parent having to tell their kids, "No, can't
Yeah,
have that."
you gotta take some stuff away,
Yeah,
Um,
can't give them everything they want.
Yeah, it's definitely that balance of community expectation and your own creative vision. And I feel like a lot of that comes from people's expectations and seeing the map before it's released. I want to kind of dive into like the marketing of a map, because I think you two did like a really great strategy of having both dev streams and dev update videos, where it's the dev stream, it's more like casual, you get to see the map being built, whether it's from the mapping side or the scripting side. But then the update videos, where it's like a very concise way of learning about new information. What was the process behind kind of thinking, how are we going to promote the map?
Well, for actual promotion, I mean, the dev streams were just kind of in my like the way I see it, it's a chance to one, show what we're currently working on, let the community like get to see what we're doing and watch us work on these projects. And it's also a chance for us to just outright interact with the community in a setting that's not just like talking in a Discord chat or something. I think as far as actual marketing goes, I won't sugarcoat it. I'll be blunt and honest here. We're very lucky that Die Rise is a remaster, and that in itself markets itself. But even at that though, we did still market in in a very particular way. Like when we settled on a release date, we made a post. It was a tweet that Xela made as like a TV on the map that played a video that teased the actual trailer, and then the trailer announced a release date. So pretty much with that, we kind of the mindset was post that video on Twitter to kind of remind people, hey, this map still exists. We're dropping a trailer for it, announcing a release date, and then that got like the attention shifted back, and because also in mind that we didn't really post on Twitter so much towards the end.
I think the trailers were fantastic for the map. I remember just like watching the first one and being like, oh shit, here it comes. And then when the second one was teased and released, I was like, oh my god, these are so good. If I'm not mistaken, Xela, you were mainly working on the trailers for the map?
Yep. It was me. I was the one recording and the one editing for them. And they were a lot of fun to make. Like, I really enjoyed it.
They look like a lot of fun because I'm seeing like a mix of just like in-game gameplay with like HUD removed, a bit of weapon tweaking, maybe a bit of like depth of focus in there, but also there's in the most recent trailer, it might have been the case for the first one, but a lot of animated character movements in that.
Oh yeah, for this trailer we really wanted to do in-game cinematics for it. So I asked Dobby, like, think maybe we might be able to put that in for the trailer, and he got them all set up for me to record, and they turned out pretty damn well. I've always wanted to do that with a trailer, in-game cinematics with characters, and it was definitely worth it, 100%.
Yeah, it ended up looking really cool in some of the shots, and one of my favorite ones. I had an idea to make it really cool. There's a shot where Marlton is somewhere in some tower, and then it shows he like dives off the tower away from a horde of zombies, and then it cuts to like his first person point of view where you can see like his hands waving, and he's falling down off the tower. And I mean, like that's just the animation from Origins when you fall out of the robot, but that's like that alone is such like an insane shot to like cut to. Like you're watching this trailer, you're not expecting to like see that. I mean, we even had people asking like, hey, is that in the map? Unfortunately not, because I don't know how that would actually work, but it's still a pretty cool thing. And then there's another shot that I'll talk about that didn't get into the trailer, but it was this idea that I had. At one point in the trailer, it shows the player walking up and inserting the elevator key, and then it shows like a cut to like a close-up of the key going into the hole I mentioned earlier, and then it turning. My original idea for that shot was to have a first-person animation of the player where you like actually have the key in your hand, and you can see you inserting it and turning it with your hand, which would have been insanely cool. But I mean, that didn't end up happening. It would have taken a lot more time than we wanted to spend before working on the trailer and before release. But yeah, it was definitely really, really fun working on that.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, you can tell by looking at the trailer. It is just full of just fun, passion, and enjoyment. I think it's amazing.
Appreciate that.
I kind of want to move to the future of your maps. I know you touched on remastering Transit. Have you guys started the process for that? What's that looking like right now?
That's all you.
Yes, it is. It has started, but we're gonna wait a little bit before we start showing anything. But it's very, very early right now. But
oh, naturally,
I'm getting close to a point where I can actually start showing some stuff off. So and it's looking pretty nice. So I definitely excited to show that off for sure when it's ready.
When do you think we could expect some dev streams, or are you kind of done giving dates out? I know that's a whole thing.
For dev streams, probably very, very soon, I would say.
Oh, perfect.
Really damn soon. I don't have like a specific date because I
Mhm.
mean I have no idea, but I think it's gonna be very 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 soon
Perfect.
because I'm getting to that point.
I know you guys you've kind of put it on the back burner, but I am throwing mold. I need to know some info about Clinic of Hell.
Clinic of
Yep,
Hell.
that map has
Um,
been through so much.
yeah. So
It's a long story.
I just need a little bit of
Um,
info on it.
nah, I got you, bro. I'll break it. I'll break it down. Not a problem. Don't want to sugarcoat things here, as we have been this whole time. Well, I'm not sure to what degree of public knowledge it is, but long story short, Clinic suffered the tragedy of not having a scripter up until I rolled around.
Mhm.
But then by the time that happened, we were working on Die Rise.
mhm.
For a while, the plan was to finish Die Rise and then go back and finish Clinic and then make Transit. Since then, we did make a bit of a change in our plans, partially in due to a poll that we held where our entire Discord community voted, and the decision was made to do Transit next and then go back and do Clinic. And this time, for sure, nothing is going to stop that. So the plan is to, as soon as Transit is out, we are going back and finishing Clinic. And then as
Yeah.
far as what there actually is to finish, obviously anybody who's played the beta or anybody who's seen the map, I think there's a full map like showcase on Zella's channel on
Mhm.
YouTube. You can like most of the map is done. They
All
don't,
that's
like
really missing, like mapping wise, is just a boss arena and maybe
yeah
some few new areas that we might want to add. But
yeah
um, to go back on when we might start working on it again, honestly, I think we maybe could possibly finish it during the development of Transit. That could happen at
Oh,
some
I mean
point.
yeah I
that's
mean
music to my ears.
It
very well could
maybe don't.
happen. Well,
I wouldn't.
yeah, yeah, like no promises. I
No
definitely,
promises,
I
but
definitely
that would
don't
be
want to
great.
go and say that's going to happen
Yeah.
because then if it doesn't, then people are going to get pissed at us and be like, hey, you guys said this was going to happen. Where's it at?
Right.
And
Yep.
like I've also got like I'm working on projects with like Boris as well, who's making the 5 remaster.
Yeah.
So like I'm not just like Zella's partner here.
Yeah, it's a lot going on, a lot of projects. Clinic's not the main priority. However, I'm going to be very upset with you guys if Clinic doesn't get that script in. This whole podcast, it's been all a lie. All the
You're a big
episodes,
Clinic fan,
all the
huh?
episodes I've made before it, total lie.
I don't know if you know his name, but his name in our server is #1 Clinic fan, I think. Pretty sure that's
Yep.
you.
This was all
That
a
is
ploy
him.
just to get you guys to start working back on Clinic. Because I love that map from World at War, and seeing it being
Yeah.
brought back into Black Ops 3, I'm
It's
just
my
like,
favorite
oh my
World of
gosh.
War custom map.
I mean, I don't know what you would want to share, but I mean, Zella, do you want to talk about some of the not I mean, I don't obviously we can't share all of our plans, but some of the big things or the key features of the map that we have in mind? Just the surface level stuff?
I'll just say one word: gargoyles.
Oh yeah.
Oh fuck. Okay.
Yep, that's fine with me.
Okay, never mind. Take your time. I'll wait.
Yeah, we're gonna cook. I mean, I think most people can agree after
There's some
like
pretty cool ideas.
yeah,
Like,
we've got a lot of cool ideas that we're gonna whip together for that map. It'll be pretty fun to work on, and it'll be really cool to see how people experience it.
Now, I want to touch on one map where I know you guys have talked about it, but I don't know how, if it's like a canned project or anything, but a Blood of the Dead remake or
oh
remaster.
lord.
Oh my!
What's the word on that?
Zella? That's you.
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot. Um, if I wasn't gonna make, or if we weren't gonna make a new map after Transit, that is probably the one we would do. But as you heard me say earlier in this podcast, I am getting pretty tired of the remakes. I know people love them and they're very popular, but I would really like to make my own thing. But I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll have a change of heart in the future once Transit's done. But dear God, that map would take so long.
No, I'd imagine. I think it already looks amazing in Black Ops 4. There wouldn't be
Yeah.
too much you'd have to change. The only thing I
Yep.
think would be on like scripting side with like the shield.
We definitely want to make some changes with that for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be the only thing I could think of changing.
Yeah.
Maybe one thing mapping side.
Maybe a few of the Easter egg steps, because some of them are pretty annoying
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
to do.
Definitely would
Like
want to change
the
some
bird
stuff like
step. Definitely want to change that up a little bit.
I think one thing I would ask for the mapping side is in the warden's office, adding another way to leave. That would be it. That would be the one thing. But I'm very much encouraging you guys to work on something original, because I want to see some peak. You know what I'm saying?
that. Yeah.
Me too, man.
Now, working on a map for a long time can be draining. Is there a way you guys stay motivated?
I have been experiencing burnout for probably a year, but what keeps me going and what keeps me motivated to keep doing it is, I guess, the pressure of it all. Like, because people want these things from us, and I do like mapping and I do like remaking maps, but I have been feeling burnt out for a good while. But that's not gonna stop me from doing this. I'm gonna keep doing it because it just feels like an obligation to me to do it. So I'm just gonna keep going.
I kind of agree in like a similar light. Like, there's definitely pressure, but like in my mind, well, I'm the one here implementing all of these features and these creating like these effects and making like the gameplay come to life, and creating these like new hidden Easter eggs and all these things for the players to explore and actually like play with. So a lot of it for me is that I want to like deliver this experience and then like watch. I really love watching like players play the map and do these new things and like getting their feedback, good or bad, whether or not they love it or they hate it. Just seeing their experience. I enjoy that, since like that's something that I made and I had such a huge hand in. So that definitely drives me to an extent. Like I'm definitely sure experienced burnout like Xela and probably like most people would, but I think with Die Rise there was definitely the same thing. A lot of pressure to get it released, like especially with how long it's been in development and how many other remasters there are being worked on, and there's a lot of people are just being given a lot of pressure to release their stuff, and it's definitely a huge relief having it out now and giving
relief.
that a lot of weight off the shoulders.
No, yeah, definitely releasing the map. The pressure I hope for you guys is completely off for Die Rise, except for, I don't know, are there bug fixes that still need to happen?
There's a few little things here and there, but I mean, for the most part, I mean, it's. I mean, Dobby, would you say? I mean, for the most part, it's
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty good.
we've got the initial wave of bugs, like the hardcore crashing of the game, and like the crazy things are fixed. So you can play the map pretty well. But like the little tiny bugs that don't really affect gameplay are the only things left.
I want to say I played the map like 5 times now, and each time I haven't really experienced any bugs. Like I was on day 1, perfect experience. So for me, it's like the ideal way to play Die Rise. Coming back to the beginning, you guys said that you really, or at least Xela, you said you really hated Die Rise. Do you guys find coming back to the map that you enjoy playing it now, or is it kind of like, I've made this, I can't play it. It's got to be out of my head.
I definitely like the changes we made for sure, and I hope it makes the map more pleasing to people like me that didn't like it before. But I mean, I can't really be the judge of that because I'm the one that made the map, or we made the map, and it's I don't really know how to answer that, but
You got a bit of a soft spot for it.
yeah. So like, but if you were to ask me to go back on BO2 and play Dyrus, I'd be like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Like I would actually rather play Transit. Like unironically, like I do like that map more than Dyrus. Like, and I don't know. It's that map's never been my cup of tea, and never thought one day that I would be the one remaking it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad it's over, because dear Lord,
Yeah,
what a fucking
mammoth of a map.
Definitely, yeah. Like I can't imagine anybody's gonna like look at like any of these remasters that exist or that are being made that anybody would choose to go play the old one over the new ones. But like, I mean, definitely, like loading up Dire Eyes. Like, even since the map came out, sure, I've been fixing bugs, but from time to time, I've hopped on the public posted version of the map to go play it, see what everybody's experiencing, and I definitely understand what Xela's saying. Like having worked on it for so long and knowing it in and out. Like I hate that to an extent. I hate how well I understand the Easter egg. Like I know it like the back of my hand. I could tell you every little step, and I never thought I'd be able to say that.
Yeah. Like the same thing for me with like the layout. Like the layout used to confuse the shit out of me, and now I know it like the back of my hand. It's
Yeah, that
it's
too.
weird.
Like I know everything about this map. I know that like that maze section. It ain't no maze to me.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not a maze at all to me. Like,
Well, I want to kind of reel it forward for new mappers kind of coming into the scene. Maybe they've been inspired by what you guys have done and they've just kind of joined the tools now. What do you think is the most important skill for someone who's just started mapping or scripting to learn?
well, for mapping, I would say the most important skill, like if they really want to delve deep into either level design or environment art, which I mean you can be both, but I would say for level design, you you always want to block out and plan your maps beforehand, and you definitely want to put a lot of thought into the layout and how you make it flow, and creating loops and having shortcuts and all that sort of stuff with the level design. I think is very important to how a map plays and whether it feels good or not. For level design, definitely always start with a block out. And for environment art, if you really want to be able to just make anything, I would highly advise looking into how to model and how to make materials. Which, if honestly, if you know how to model, you're pretty much already good to learn how to make materials, because it's basically the same thing. If you use the same workflow that me and a lot of other people use, which is when I make my materials, I draw out a 2D plane in Blender, and then I just start making the high poly for it. And once I'm done with that, I create the low poly, which is just, a 2D plane. And I throw it into Substance, and then I just start painting it and making it seamless and tileable, and there's your material. And for models, it's the same thing with mapping. Always start small. Don't ever try to make like the biggest, most amazing thing imaginable when you're first starting out. You definitely want to start small always, because you want to work your way up. You don't want to start at the top and then just start falling. Like you want to work your way up for sure. So that is the biggest piece of advice I can give for anyone that's new. Always watch tutorials. I highly recommend Jaybird's tutorials. I think they're the best. And for lighting, I highly recommend Verco's tutorials. They're very descriptive on everything you need to know about lighting, and it tells you like the basics of everything pretty much. Like you couldn't ask for more. Sure, he could have went into farther detail about certain things, but it covers pretty much all bases pretty much, and I couldn't recommend it more.
yeah, the first thing that comes to mind, it's not really scripting like specific. It could definitely be applied, but it's more so mapping. Is biggest huge thing is like patience, and especially like patience with yourself. We know people personally, or just people in general who in modding community here who they will have ideas for a map, or they'll have some like big concept that they want to make, and then they'll go to make it, but then they get impatient, or it's taking too long to fully actualize their idea, and then they give up, or they go and start something else, and then they've started a bunch of ideas, or they can't finish something because of this little lack of patience. But on like genuinely, if you just like sit there and like thug it out, be patient with yourself. Like, I know it like sucks at first, like when you're sitting there blocking out a whole map, and then you have to like one by one go and detail all these areas and do these different like, and then you add effects, maybe add some sound. Like, it does take a long time, and it takes even longer the more detail you add, but it's literally so worth it in the end. I mean, Die Rise, as an example, took us about 2 years. Most of that was spent on the mapping of the actual map, and it took an incredible amount of patience to sit there and suffer through all of that mapping for a year and a half, however long it took to get that done. As far as scripting goes, I guess I'm not really sure what the advice I could give here. Well, kind of Xela talked about tutorials. Something that kind of sucks is that there aren't really tutorials that really exist for scripting. Like, I know if you look up BO3 mod tools like scripting guide, you'll find a couple of videos. I think the best ones are, I think his name is like Abnormal or something on YouTube. He made like the snail's pace perk. He made a couple of custom perks, but he like has a couple of tutorials that teach like the basic syntax of the programming language used for modding here on Black Ops 3. So that's definitely a starting point if you're like brand new. Otherwise, I mean, I just recommend like experimenting. Once you like know basics of how to like make something happen, just experiment, play around. Maybe you could go in the mod tools Discord server, ask in the scripting channels, hey, is this a good or bad thing? Am I doing this correctly? Like, this community, like, use the community to your advantage. Don't try to do everything yourself. Like, people are so willing to help, and they're so like, they'll literally, I've seen like people with no roles who just joined the server an hour ago come in and ask a question, and people that have been there for half a decade will hop in and answer and be like, hey, I got you. This is what you got to do, or this is what's wrong with this thing. So definitely use that to your advantage. That goes for scripting and mapping and literally anything in this community.
Well, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, I think the community is so helpful, and if you are scripting or mapping, just trying to be in contact with people, learning what you can, and that communication is always so helpful. I think we've come around to the end of the podcast. Thank you both for coming out. I really appreciate this. Getting to talk to y'all was just such a pleasure. Do you have any final words? Maybe promote something, the new Die Rise map, and maybe a bit of transit. Anything before we head off?
Yeah, I would just say, follow us on Twitter, join our Discord server, to stay updated for everything that comes out and future projects and stuff, and go play Die Rise pretty much.
Yep. Play our map.
Thank you again for coming out. I really appreciate this, guys.
Thanks for having us.
For sure, man. Great being here.